All right, we are live. Welcome, everybody. This is the Add1 finale. Add1 finale number 15. Wow. So we're giving away a flight ticket to one winner. So basically, in the Add1 challenge, we shoot for being able to hold a 15-minute conversation in any language that you pick in 90 days. And so this time we have 4 finalists because we have 2 ties. And so that's why we're 4 finalists this time. Before we jump into the next part, let's introduce our polyglots. So first of all, let's introduce Richard. Richard Simcott. Hello again.
Thank you very much for having me again. I feel like I am. Yeah, I'm after your job, Brian. I'm going to be taking over the Add1Challenge.
Oh man!
Finale by finale.
I'm scared. Oh no!
No, it's a pleasure to be here again and to be surrounded by some fantastically successful language learners. Once again, I'm always super impressed and super motivated whenever I see it, and I keep grabbing language books from my shelves and start studying frenetically like a crazy person every time I finish looking at a finale. So one last week, another one now, and I'm just going crazy with my languages at the moment. So thank you.
All right. Floyd?
Hi, Brian. Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for having me again. I'm Vladimir Skulteti from Slovakia. Richard's very good friend and Brian's friend as well. And looking forward for this finale.
All right. Maureen.
Hi, everyone. My name's Maureen and I'm from Scotland. And this is the first Add1Challenge final that I've participated in. I was the winner of Add1Challenge 13 for Chinese, and I know how nervous you all feel. So I'm glad to be part of it, and I hope you enjoy it, and I think you should all be pleased of the progress that you made because all the videos were excellent.
And when are you going to China?
November.
November. I already got her the tickets.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Just to let people know that I actually give out tickets. All right, good. So, all right, so let's start with some burning questions first. Let's see. Does anybody have any question in the Hangout?
I have a question. My question is, how early, like when you start a new language, how early do you start having like conversations with native speakers?
For me, as soon as I possibly can, I like to practice whatever I've learned, even if it's just very basic things like basic interactions. So as soon as I can. Sometimes it's possible because you're either in the country or you're visiting the country when you do it, or you visit it very soon after you started. Other times you have to wait, and you just have to do that either just if you have the opportunity to speak to somebody that you meet randomly or via the internet. But I like to practice even the basic levels as soon as possible. Sometimes it's not possible always, but yeah, that's basically what I try and do. I'm very much all for talking, so I'll shut up now and let somebody else answer.
I'll add to that. For me as well, it's as soon as possible. I tend to use italki tutors a lot because the area where I live in, I don't really have like an international community where I live. I can't really practice my languages in my local area, so I have to use the time when I'm traveling or tutors on Skype. So I do it straight from the beginning. I think the speaking is the best way for me to learn because it's what makes everything sink in. And I think for me, it's much more effective than writing and trying to memorize. So I try to start speaking as soon as I can.
I mean, it's just so much fun to speak a language when you know almost nothing of it to me, because people are so forgiving, and it's almost like you're a little bit drunk when you talk. So for me, it's as soon as I can. So I mean, it depends on the situation, of course, because sometimes like the language is too difficult, or like again, like Richard said, there's no one around. to talk to. But that's that's one of the funnest parts of the whole process. Like when you just get to know the basics, and you try to say this and that, and you stumble all the time. And that's, I guess, when it's the most fun, and that's the part when it's the most fun. You learn most. So I would say as soon as I can.
Great. All right. Let's have a question from that one challenger. Kate, how do you plan your learning, especially for beginners who haven't got a clue what they're doing? Say you're starting a new language, and I guess.
I'll answer that first. Because I've done that many challenges from a beginner level. What I tend to do is I tend to do 5 days a week for 30 minutes a time. Some people might want to do more than that if they've got more free time than me. The other thing is I'm an experienced language learner, so I might not need as much time as people who are new to learn the languages. I think the key thing is to do work on it several days a week, little and often, rather than one big chunk on your day off. Once a week is, you're going to forget it week to week. So I tend to do a little bit each day. I prefer having a structured course to work through, and then you can see your progress, constantly review what you've already done, make your own flashcards. I use cram.com, which I can do on the computer, and it's on my phone as well. And then I have a speaking session probably once a week with an italki tutor. It obviously depends how difficult the language is as well, but I need structure, little and often, and speaking practice. Those are the 3 things.
Richard?
I'd say for me as well, it would be finding a course is the important thing that really gels with you. Depends on the language a lot of the time, because sometimes just the resources are really limited. And you know, where they are, I like to have a look properly and read through and see what really appeals and what I feel motivated to look at and learn in terms of materials. And then find somebody who I can interact with, and then to try and make commitments. So I find a really important thing with a new language is you've got to have some sort of push forward or feel like you're moving somewhere at least twice a week. So if you have lessons with somebody, or like sort of interactive sessions with somebody, do them at least twice a week and space them apart through the week. And then every day do a little bit. And I think as a minimum, that will you'll start seeing progress. If you do any less than that, I think you just tread water, stagnate. So I would recommend anybody new to language, maybe not that confident, or feels that it's, you know, they're trying to really understand how to learn best. You'll be able to pick up what works with you as you move through, but make sure you make at least 2 commitments. Make calendar appointments for yourself for those lessons. And even if you haven't done the homework, even if you slip back, keep the appointments, be honest, and move forward. And I think it's a really good way of actually progressing.
So I don't know if I can give any good advice about this, because I don't know. I mean, when I started learning a language that I'm really interested in, I just spend as much time as I can with it every day for, I don't know, 6 months, 7 months. So for me personally, there was like no real strategy. I just do whatever I feel like doing, reading a book, talking to native speakers, maybe reading a little bit about the grammar, maybe moving to the country, stuff like that. Just very organic things. For me, the most important thing is that it's fun and that there is no stress, and that I do what I feel like doing at that time. But like Richard said, I mean, there has to be at least some sort of regularity in it. So for me, it's 3 times per week at least, because other than that, it's like Richard said, treading water. So
Great. All right. Any questions in the Hangout? Anybody from the question?
I have a question. Hello? Can you hear me? Yeah, okay. So I was wondering, kind of touching on Krashen's ideas of finding input that it's increasingly more difficult. Do you have any advice, or have you found any strategies besides working with a tutor either a program or a way to work on your input so that you're constantly finding and working with input that is a little higher than your current level so that you keep acquiring the language. It could be either a strategy or maybe there's a software that you have used that helps you with that process.
Good question. That's a real toughie, actually, Paulino, to be honest, especially when you move beyond the basics. I find that quite often if I'm being lazy or I'm falling back with a language that I just haven't had time for whatever reason to study, that I can tread water very, very easily, even if I have those 2 lessons a week and I maybe practice it a little bit during the week as well. I still don't extend myself. And I've had that with Greek on several occasions when I've been studying it, and I can get by and it's fine to chat for a lesson. But then if I really want to move forward, I think what I need to do is to look for new words and new expressions and then try and get them into my next conversation. And just doing that bit by bit every time, I find that I expand outwards with my ability in the language. And I think when I don't do it, I know I'm not doing it and I notice it. And I kind of pat myself on the back and go, well done for treading water for another week. But I know exactly that struggle. And it is a struggle for sure, because once you can start speaking, it's very tempting to just stay within those confines of what's easy. The true thing to do, though, is to, even if it's as simple as getting a piece of paper with your new 10 words and making a point to divert the conversation around your new words and expressions so that you get them in. And I think if you get them in at least 3 or 4 times at some point in the conversation, they'll start to stick and become a natural part of the language. And then you find that you progress. But I agree, it's definitely an issue and it's not the easiest thing to get around. Completely empathize with that issue.
I've got something to add to that. I used to have a very good Portuguese tutor, and one of the things she used to do was come into the lesson and she'd put a picture on the board for us, showing a big news story that had happened that week. And then she said, "What's this about?" And we had to try and tell the story. So obviously you're going to have words there that you've not used before, you've maybe not used for a long time, or you're just not sure about, and she would have to give you some vocabulary. But it encourages you to speak about different things outside your comfort zone. And then you record the new words in whichever way is the best for you, whether it's flashcards or in a notebook. And then you've got them then to keep using for other things. So what I tend to do is things like that, talk about things on the news in italki lessons, and read a lot of media, things that interest me, and so that I can relate the story then to somebody else and maybe explain it in my own words. And maybe things I don't talk about every day, just to get out of my comfort zone a bit. And I find that really helps me to move up from sort of intermediate to advanced level.
This is like a super difficult question because I've been thinking about this a lot too. Basically, when you get to a certain level, then anything that you don't know a lot about is something that is a little bit higher above your level, right? But like when you're a beginner, a complete beginner, and like somewhere around that, it's very hard. And I don't know, Richard. So we have to talk about this when we meet next time, because I really don't know. What I do personally is I like to listen to YouTubers, because they tend to talk in like first person. They say things like, "I've been here, I did that, I think this about that," and that's usually very simple language. And more importantly, it's language in the first person, so it's something that I need to know how to say. So I listen to them. Sometimes I slow down. When I have something recorded, I slow it down a little bit, although I don't really like that. But yeah, like when you're intermediate, upper intermediate, it's not really a problem to find something that is a little bit higher above your level, and you can use that. But when you're a beginner, it's really hard. Another thing that I did was that I asked my conversation partner to record the content of our lesson. So basically just say in his own words, but using the words that we were using during that lesson, to record what we were talking about. And then I would listen to that over and over and over again until our next lesson. So I would have at least something to listen to that was, you know, my level or roughly my level when I was a beginner.
Great. All right. So another question from Add1Challenger. Okay. I wonder if bidirectional translation as a way of learning is effective when it is used for translation from one of the target languages to another target language. For example, I took Norwegian in the previous challenge, and in this challenge, I took Estonian. Bidirectional translation from Estonian to Norwegian and vice versa. Does that make sense?
Are they talking about laddering, so learning from one language to the next?
Yeah, I think what he means is basically he learned a new language he was working on a language in the last challenge. And then so in this challenge, he's working on another language. And then now he's basically translating from language one that he took on and the current challenge, the language that he's currently working on, and translating basically two newer language, not native language, two newer language. Is it effective? I guess that's what he's asking.
Wow. Okay. I've never done that before. So it's not something I would normally do with two new languages, for sure. I've done, because it sounded, when you were first describing it, sounded a bit like laddering, where you learn a new language from another language that you've already learned, but you've normally learned it well. So for example, when I learned Turkish through Macedonian. So the explanations in the very beginning for Turkish were given in Macedonian, and the same with Albanian. I learned it through Macedonian. I learned Greek through Dutch in the beginning, just because I was in the countries and I was learning it that way. But otherwise, for example, if I were to take, let's say, last year I did Latvian, and then this year I did Finnish, I wouldn't necessarily do the same things in both languages. Probably the reason why is because I don't know, I think my books aren't the same. They're different vocabularies that are important for each language. What they talk about in Finland is not necessarily what they talk about in Latvia in the beginning, the types of vocabulary that are important. But why not? If it works for you, I mean, go for it, if it works for you, go for it. But it's not something I personally do. But there's no right or wrong way for everything. If anything that works, go for it, I say. But yeah, I've never tried it.
Great. If it works for you, use it. If it doesn't work for you, don't use it.
Can I add something a little bit about that?
Yeah.
Okay, I was waiting for you. Yeah. You talk about different cultures, so each language has its own culture. So that's one aspect of it. The other aspect of it is if you still are very conversational in one language, but still starting to learn the mechanics of a language, and you're trying to use that framework to learn the mechanics of a new language, it will be hard because you still don't have the mechanics of your L2 to transfer that knowledge to L3. If it is purely on a conversational level, topics and engaging, that's fine. But at some point, you do want to understand the mechanics of L2 to be able to transfer to L3. The same way we do with other mother tongue, we transfer some of the basic grammar knowledge to learn our L2. So if you don't have that in that language 2 to transfer to the L3, in that sense, it would not work, or it would make it harder, because you don't have those basic building blocks to transfer from one to another.
Got it. Thank you. Anyone else?
I just wanted to add real quick, I don't know, was he talking about translation or interpretation? Do you know?
I have no idea. He said bi-directional translation. I don't know what that means, to be honest.
No, because I use this technique a lot. I use simultaneous interpretation. I work as an interpreter, and I use it a lot just to spend time, I guess. I don't know. When I was in school, I used to do that when I was bored in lessons. I would just interpret what the professor was saying into German or English or Slovak. I used to do it like between two languages that weren't my native or like a language that I didn't know very well, but only from that language into like Slovak or into English. And still, I don't know how effective it is. You know, it's very, very hard if you interpret between two languages that are not your strong languages or native languages, then it's just very hard. And I don't know how effective that is. It's a good show off thing to do, but it's not very, probably not very effective in terms of learning, I would say. I mean, depends on the situation, I guess, but there are other ways of achieving fluency.
I'd also actually, there's one thing just as we're talking now, if this is at the basic level, the types of grammar that you have, especially between languages like Norwegian and Estonian, the things that you're learning in the grammar are very, very different. So what's easy in one may not be easy in the other. And there are, for example, the case systems in Estonian may not allow you to be able to say things that are easy to say in Norwegian and vice versa. And so I'd say that sometimes that can be a frustration. But if, as I say, if it does work, then if you feel it works for you and you enjoy it and it's a motivator, then allow it to be a motivator for you. But be aware that, especially in the beginning stages and the intermediate stages of learning a new language, if you're learning two new languages so different, what your ability to say the same things will be hugely different as well. So yeah, I'd look out for that, not just the vocabulary. That's kind of, I think what I said before kind of indicated I was talking about vocabulary, but really what I mean is grammatical structures as well.
So last question. Does anybody have a question in the group?
Yes.
No. Oh, yes.
I have a question.
Hey, Mo.
Hey. So if you stay in a country, let's say for maybe 6 months, 7 months, what do you think is the best way in terms of language learning to get out of the stay? Like taking classes, making meetups, or what is your experience?
Maureen?
I'll answer this.
Okay.
All right, just real quick. For me, what I found personally to be the best thing is to kind of be in a group of like 3 people, including you. So that's you and 2 other people. And like the best thing would be if you're a guy, let the 2 people be guys again, because you need to learn how, like you need to know, if you're a guy, you need to know how guys speak. And if you're a girl, you need to know how girls speak. And why 2 people? Because if it's 3, then you very easily get left out. And when it's only 1, then you might be embarrassed or whatever, and you might not be as productive. But the point is that, and just hang out with these people as much as you can. Like just every single minute that you can, just hang out with them, just talk, just do fun stuff, learn language that way. That, I don't know if this works for everybody, but for me, it worked really well. So.
Yeah, I'd agree that, you know, getting out there and doing things is really good. I found actually living in the Netherlands, when I was there, I went to Greek classes so that I could speak to Dutch people and improve my Dutch. It wasn't really to learn Greek, it was to practice Dutch, because I knew that I'd be there with Dutch natives or people that spoke Dutch fluently, and that we would default back to Dutch in the spare time and not to English. Whereas we're on the foreigner courses for the language, they tend to default to English, or perhaps another language, depending if there's a huge majority of another group from one country. And then on this course, I was speaking Dutch all the time in between. And then if we arranged to go out anywhere, we were all speaking Dutch together. So that was really useful. Other things, like if there are book clubs or if there are other activities that you can do in Czech Republic, I did salsa lessons, and that was really good for my Czech. I also went to other language classes in Czech Republic as well, and I found that was a real help.
I was going to say that I went to Italy with an old job I had quite a lot, and I had lessons before I went, but my Italian wasn't as good as I wanted it to be when I first went there. And after 3 months, it reached the level of my Spanish. It was fluent after 3 months, because I didn't speak English at all when I was there, and nobody else did. people I was working with didn't anyway, so I was forced to use Italian all the time. I carried a book with me. It was a intermediate advanced conversations, and I would hear something where I thought, I don't really understand why that person phrases something this way. I would look up in my book and then I would understand it. And then I would watch the television as well. I could only get about 20% arrived, and after 3 months, 90%. When I watched TV, it was a big difference. But I really threw myself into it and forced myself to speak as much as possible. And you just look up there and then, and that's how I.
Great. Maureen's very good at throwing herself in languages. All right.
Can I just make a comment?
Sure.
Just to go back with what Vladimir was mentioning about like hanging out with, listening to the guys talk about what guys would say. I would say also in terms of the voice, that's also important, because I did the girlfriend, wife, native speaker approach, and my voice is super high in French as a result, because I was listening to a girl speaking French all the time. So when I speak French, like just by listening to that, associating it and adapting to it, you end up kind of repeating what you hear.
Can you show us?
So,
Can you show us?
Donc, si je commence à parler en français, c'est un peu plus haut que ce que je raconte en anglais. However, if I start speaking, si hablo en español, no sé por qué tengo la voz más bajo. So it's something weird where listening to my wife in French, just like my voice went super high. But for some reason, I learned Spanish before I met her. So my Spanish was just like, it stayed in a low tenor baritone voice. So yeah, just be aware of that if you want to pick up a girlfriend, or if it's a boyfriend, maybe a woman's voice might come down. I don't know. So just be aware of that.
Great. Thank you for sharing. All right. So that was good. All right. So the next part of the segment is that we are going to get to know the finals a little bit before we give away a flight ticket. So basically, just quickly say your name is, what language did you learn, and what is something you got out of that one challenge, doing the challenge. Who wants to go first? All right. Let's start with one of the guys. Paulino. Yes.
Now I can unmute. Hi, I'm Paulino, and I am originally from Argentina. So Spanish is my mother tongue. I learned English since I was 6. But for this challenge, I took American Sign Language, and it was a lot of fun. I did some American Sign Language a few years ago, but never practiced. So it was like probably 4 or 5 years hiatus there, a break. And it was so much fun to bring it back. I had, since sign language, you need to move. It's like when you learn to ride a bicycle or dance. I mean, it happens with all languages as well, but this one in particular, your muscles coming back to life into that language. Besides learning more and improving my skills, that was a nice experience as well. My full body saying, yeah, we've been here before, and getting that experience. That was a lot of fun.
Great. All right. Jonathan?
Yeah, so hi, my name is Jonathan. I'm from California. I've been living abroad for the last 14 years with Spanish and French, but in the Add1Challenge, I was working on Russian, which I started about 5 years ago with a local language school here in Mexico City. And then it was kind of slow. And then after my kids were born, I had to kind of suspend my lessons there, and then I had to become more independent. And about a year ago, I got involved in some group activity learning, and then with the Add1Challenge, I decided to kind of take it a little bit step further, and I was able to do, motivated by those videos that we had to make of like day 0, day 30, 60, 90, I decided to just make them daily. And I ended up getting, like, even after the challenge stopped, I ended up doing, I think when I calculated, a streak of 100 days. And so it was really crazy. And it paid off, because by the end of like day 90, it was not just a 15-minute conversation, it was an hour and a half. And it was just way beyond what I had anticipated. So the learning the techniques which work for me was like, I think these daily monitoring and tracking the progress is what really helped. And the community support was incredible. So, I mean, competing against you guys and seeing your results, I think, especially Brianna, in the last like 2 challenges or mini challenges, it was just incredible to see the results you guys were getting. So it's a real honor to be part of the challenge and the finale. So just thank you, Brian, and thank you, the Polyglots, for all of the support and the encouragement you guys give.
Thank you, Jonathan. All right, so Brianna.
Okay, I am Brianna. I'm from Australia, and I started learning Spanish probably like 6 to 8 months before the challenge. But I really only focused on the grammar. I never really practiced speaking until Add1Challenge. And then that sort of really gave me confidence and made me realize how much like you can, you know, improve and learn a language like in a short amount of time, sort of thing. Yeah, it was very empowering to do the challenge and be able to speak with people so often and so well, actually. So I was very happy with that.
Great, thank you. All right, Mo.
Hey, my name is Mo. I'm from Germany, and I did Japanese in the Add1Challenge. So what did I get out of the challenge? So before the challenge, I learned Japanese maybe for half a year, and it was on-off. And this was 6 years before the challenge. And after that, like after half a year, I quit and didn't do anything. So I almost forgot everything. So with the challenge, I restarted, and this was really like one of the best things I did like in the last years, I would say, because I met so many new people, so many new friends. Like I also got rid of some like bad habits, like watching TV, watching senseless YouTube videos, etc. So it like really helped like to use your time a lot better. And yeah, I was on a trip in Japan for 6 weeks, and this was like the best vacation I ever had. And that's all thanks to the Add1Challenge. So thank you, Brian.
How was your experience after being able to speak some Japanese and then go to Japan? Can you share a little bit?
It was like in Japan, they don't really speak any English. Few people speak good English, but it's like having a conversation in English is pretty, impossible. So speaking the language just really like takes the shyness of those native speakers, because I think they are really scared of speaking English. And if they see, okay, he's speaking Japanese, or he's trying to speak Japanese, it's like, oh yeah, that's cool. So they really want to get into a conversation, and it's like really, really so much better than I think I wouldn't have made those experiences just with English, and I wouldn't have made new friends, and it's just totally different. So it was really good.
Thank you. All right, so Polyglots, is there anything you want to say to the finalists?
I'd like to say that I think you all did a really, really good job, and this time it was particularly difficult to choose between you. I think you've all got the right to feel very proud of what you've done, your achievements, and I think that you've all come a long way on your journey. So I mean, I say this every time, but it's really true, that you've all won something out of the whole experience, and I think you will feel that. And hearing what you're saying now, I think you recognise that already, which is really nice to hear. It came through loud and clear from you, Mo, just now when you were speaking, particularly because you were saying you got into new habits and you were doing things that you weren't normally doing. You were using your time just to watch TV or do something, but you were actually just taking, not that watching TV is bad, but injecting other things in that at the end of a certain period of time, you can say, oh, okay, I watched my TV a little bit, but I took away some time from that time to do something that now after 3 months, I actually feel quite proud of my achievement. And I think you've all got the right to feel proud with what you've achieved. So you've all done very, very well. So congratulations. I've really enjoyed seeing your progress videos and watching how you've come on through the challenge. So congrats to you all.
Yes, I would just like to say that I was really impressed by all the videos, and I found it very difficult to decide on a winner. And when I watched them all, they were all a really high standard. But there were things.
Oh no! Did she froze?
I can fill in.
I think because she's in Iceland, she froze.
Yeah, she's in Iceland right now.
All
right, go ahead, Fly.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, like we always say that, great job. Everyone did a great job, but we have to pick a winner. And this time we had 3 times that I've been here. This is the first time that we didn't have a unanimous decision. So that was interesting. And the second thing that I wanted to say, that it was the first time that I actually saw someone sign for such a long time, and it was very, very interesting. So
to adapt the
wanted to learn a little bit more about that.
The mini challenge is and for sign language.
Was that Maureen coming through? Did you guys hear? Okay, all right. Well, all right, I guess we'll just need to announce the winner. It was really, 1 second. All right, okay. It was really hard this time. I mean, I don't have to make the choice, thankfully, but I like all of your videos. I like all your progress, and I really like all your participation in the Add1Challenge. And I think all 4 of you made a difference to everybody else in the Add1Challenge by your sharing, your participations, your comments. And so I really, really appreciate all of your effort, and I really, really want to acknowledge for all your progress. So thank you for participating in the Add1Challenge. So I need to announce the winner. So, all right, so here's the winner. The winner is Paulino. Oh, you unmute yourself. Oh, you're signing.
No, I need to thank you very much. Thank you. I need to be true to my target language and keep signing now. Now it's the pressure. Yay, thank you very much. Awesome. Now, what I do need is suggestions where to go. I do have a few ideas, but everybody's have like a country where they can go. It's like, I am already here.
So can
yes.
Can you say a little bit about how you feel and what, go ahead to say before we get into where to go.
Where to go?
Before we get into where to go, can you share a little bit how you feel?
I feel great, and one of the things that happened to me when I started learning American Sign Language, and now that I came back to it, was a connection with my emotions. We all know that language is part of our system and is connected with our emotions, but by moving it and moving your blood, by moving your hands, there is a different connection with your emotions that we don't make to the written oral systems or ways we have to learn other languages. And that was and is a good experience for me. So not only saying, oh, I learned a new language and improving it, but it was a very personal experience. So I thank you for this honor, because it was not just, oh, another language. I am a language learner, I love languages, but it was like a self-improvement in a way, getting to know myself and my feelings, and something that I have to say I haven't experienced in other languages. I usually are drawn more towards the culture of another language, and I try to learn the music and the dance. But this was about not just the language, but also learning to know about those internal emotions, which is great. So thank you for this honor. I think I really love the support and the cheering from the group. I am a performer, and I like to have an audience, but usually it's just about being entertaining. And this was not about being entertaining. It was about, this is what I'm feeling at the moment. And it was great to have people reacting to that and feeling that loop of feedback that in general we all get in the Add1Challenge, getting not just the support, but the cheering, the suggestions that help you with your daily motivation.
Right, so where are you gonna go?
That's a good question. My first thought is probably Washington, D.C. to visit Gallaudet University. Since it's a domestic situation, I might look into doing a course. I just missed their summer courses. That's one possibility. When I first moved to United States, I lived in Rochester, New York, and RIT, Rochester Institute of Technology there has a big ASL program. And my goal would be to take a content class in American Sign Language. So, to learn about, I don't know, whatever, fashion, or to learn about history in American Sign Language. We'll see if I can get to that level, but that would be one of my goals, to go and study a subject in American Sign Language. And those are the places that I could do probably. But if anyone has any suggestions, I'm very open.
Richard?
I wouldn't have a clue. I've got to be honest, I wouldn't have a clue, but that sounds like a very good idea to me. Doing something like that sounds brilliant.
Great.
And I'm also honored to be the first ASL winner. And I encourage people to try American Sign Language if they plan to be in the North American region or whatever sign language of their own country. The experience of learning through your body and visualization, it's just very different. So it's not only just trying a different language, but also different modes of engaging with the language.
Can you share a little bit about connecting with people who need to use sign language to communicate?
You mean finding connections?
No, like connecting with these people with sign languages. How is it for you connecting with people that need to use sign language to communicate?
I have a real question too. Like, how does it feel when you don't sign that well and you suddenly start to talk to somebody who's been signing their entire lives, and you see that fluency and you see how incredibly well they are versed in that? How does it feel? Because when I talk to someone who speaks really good Chinese, then obviously you know the feeling, but how does it feel when you suddenly talk to someone and you sort of see that, they can do all these movements and all that?
it goes back to the emotion part that I was telling you about, because when a person is signing in a way, you know, when you use words, written or oral, you can define different colors through the choice of words to say if you're angry or not and your mood. You could be completely serious, but just with the words, you can define different how you're feeling. With sign language, you can do that. I mean, you can do a gesture for bad, but you bring your emotions to your body. So it's not just what you do with your hands, but with your face and your whole body. So my experience was, I can understand this person. 50% is their signing, 50% is what they bring to their skin. And my reaction is, I can bring my emotions to my body, but you know, sometimes I don't have the mechanics, the actual sign to it. But you feel the connection is there because you can bring that emotion, and it's just more than just what happens in the hands. It's the gestures and the whole body. So that was very interesting, because I couldn't just, and also you have to be present. You can't just put your headphones and listen to a podcast in the car. You have to be there with the person and involve and be in that bubble. You can't just close your eyes and listen to a song. And that's a very different experience as well, because when we study different languages, we use podcasts and we watch television and we read from a book. Here, it's a very immersive experience. There's a level of commitment and presence that you need, and it has to be very authentic, right? I can pretend to do a dialogue with you and I can just listen to you. But when you are engaging in this visual contact, it's like eye contact in many cultures is different. If it's not there, you're basically cutting the communication. You can't just look away as you might do in a different kind of communication. So it's very intense at times. It's very intense at times because it's a level of presence that sometimes you're not used to. If you're talking to Chinese all the time, you might wander out just to maybe think a little harder. With sign language, you can. You have to be present and watching all the time.
Got it. Okay. All right. Well, congratulations. And I want to congratulate to all the winners. Thank you so much to all of you. You guys are all winners. And yeah, so thank you so much for watching. And if you'd like to join us for the next Add1Challenge, we are opening tomorrow. So please join us. And if you'd like to join the party and have fun and learn with all these awesome people. And that's it. And I also want to say thank you for to the polyglots. Can you share with us how we can find you?
Yeah, so you can join me on my Facebook page, which is facebook.com/speakingfluently. Also, join me in person in Thessaloniki for the Polyglot Conference, which is the end of next month. And you can find more information on polyglotconference.com for anyone who loves language, not just polyglots. So even if you're on your first or 21st language, you'll be welcome and you'll enjoy it and you'll get something out of it. As long as you like language, that's the most important thing. And you bring a nice smile.
Right.
I've got a blog which is called www.languagelearningjourney.wordpress.com. And there's a Facebook page that goes with it, which you can get to from the blog. I regularly go to the language events in different parts of the world. I'm going to be in Thessaloniki next month at the Polyglot Conference, and I'm going to be at the Language Festival in Montreal next August. And you can find out details of them on Facebook in the groups for those events.
So I have a blog, which is www.foreverstudent.com, and I don't post that often, but there are links to my YouTube channel and my Facebook page, and I post quite often there. So if you're interested, you can find me there. And I'll also be at the conference with Sir Richard and next month in Thessaloniki.
Great. All right. Thank you for watching and thank you for participating. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.